Assalamu alaikum, namaste, kem cho, and sat sri akal. Welcome to another episode of English Learning Skills with yours truly, SALEH. And in today's episode, we'll be looking at the IELTS, the various topics, also the different test formattings, the different types of test formats, and we'll give you an overview of what to expect. Now, to recap, because in the last episode we looked at the speaking element and how the speaking is presented. We had lots and lots of questions and lots of feedback from lots of students. So I will be going through a lot of the questions that you asked in this episode. But one of the things that kept getting mentioned was the test format system for the United Kingdom. So if you're looking to come and work, study or live in the UK, you will be required to do an IELTS examination. So what is the IELTS examination that you'll be required for the United Kingdom? Well, there'll be two types. One is an academic and one is a general. Now, most people who sent questions in were looking to study in the UK, so I'll mention the one on academic. The academic is in 4 parts, and as we go along we will take you through what the actual process is and stuff, and we'll talk to you about the test format and how it is. So basically, as you can see on the screen already, what is IELTS? I've just mentioned that it is an international English language testing system, which is what is required. It is mandatory. So if you are looking to come and study, work, or live in the United Kingdom, you will be expected to sit the examination and achieve a band score. Now we will look at what band scores you need to achieve a little bit later. The test format, I'm going to run through that for you. And the different test modules, because there are 4 different elements. So we will be looking at that. And what makes us your first choice? Well, as many of the students who are already enrolled with myself will know, that we give you all the practice, all the revision and stuff, all the materials completely free of charge. And thanks to UCTV and our executive producer, Mr. Nazim Khan, we've got this series live on YouTube and available on Facebook, so you can take part and enjoy our sessions every single week. So we're just going to move on to our next slide, and you'll be able to see on the screen the first element, which is a speaking test. Now, how the speaking test element works is it's timed, so you got about between 11 to 14 minutes, and it is a face-to-face interview with an examiner. Now at this point, when many of the students who are watching at the moment, or many of you who are looking, who've already applied for a test, will be a bit nervous on the idea is not to get nervous. If you've done your preparation and you've done your revision, then you've got nothing to worry about. It is quite natural, as you can see. I'm doing this live right now, and nerves do tend to kick in, but what you can do is make sure that you've got full preparation. So what you're going to be expected to see in this episode, in this segment, in the speaking test element, it is 11 to 14 minutes test. What the examiner will be looking at is a brief introduction from yourselves. So what you have to do is a 3 to 4 minute presentation, which in the next coming few weeks we will be able to give you some hints and tips on how to do a good introduction, because this is recorded, and the examiner will be giving you points and giving you marks on the way you present yourself, and how well you've prepared the introduction segment. The examiner will confirm the candidate, so he'll basically say to you that what identification have you bought for yourself. He'll also look at general questions on familiar topics. So basically, one of the things that they always ask is, that please explain your hometown. Now, for myself, we talked about this on the last episode, if you watched it, that this is the easiest part of the test. So for myself, it'd be like, hi, my name is SALEH and I'm from a town called Blackburn. I love living in Blackburn. I grew up in Bolton, but I spent most of my childhood and my adult life in Blackburn. There are so many facilities in Blackburn. So I know that you're using Blackburn is being a bit repetitive, but you're not going to get marked down for that. What tends to happen is a lot of the students or a lot of the people who are giving the test, they tend to get nervous and they get stuck, or they'll start putting in ers. What we need to try and do is steer away from that. Try and get because it's your hometown, so obviously you're going to be able to know quite a lot of details about your own hometown, especially with people like from India. Like you can talk about temples, you can talk about mosques, you can talk about दरगाहs. तो जैसे कि आपको बताया गया है मोअज़्ज़ज़ नाज़रीन ख़वातीन हज़रात, ये जो स्पीकिंग टेस्ट एलिमेंट है वो सबसे कभी कभी मुश्किल भी होती है, कभी कभी आसान, लेकिन आपको कोशिश ये करनी है कि आप प्रेपरेशन अच्छी तरह से करें ताकि आपके लिए ये आसान हो. और हमारे बहुत सारे आप इसी वक्त मुझे टेक्स्ट मैसेज भी कर रहे हैं, तो मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि आपके सवाल का जवाब इसी शो में, इसी प्रोग्राम में मैं पेश करूंगा. और उम्मीद ये है कि आप जो जितने भी अहबाब इस वक्त समान फरमा रहे हैं, आप प्लीज़ लाइक बटन ज़रूर दबाइए और हमारे ये चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए. तो जैसे कि आपके साथ ये गुफ्तगू हो रही थी कि स्पीकिंग टेस्ट के बारे में, what we tend to do, guys, is, and I know that I'm fluctuating between Hindi, Urdu and English. We're trying to get you to understand how it works and make sure that you understand. So what I will do is I'll go back into Urdu. देखो एक सवाल अभी आया है कि देखो स्पीकिंग टेस्ट के अंदर अगर आप होम टाउन के बारे में कुछ नहीं कहना चाहे तो कोई और टॉपिक चूज़ कर सकते. इसके लिए जवाब है yes, you can choose another topic, but आपका the irony is that the hometown is such an easy topic. ये जो hometown के बारे में पूछा जा रहा है, जो वहाँ पे तो आप रह रहे हैं, तो आपको फिर यही सबसे आसान topic होगा आपके लिए. So I would try and answer the question. What we will do is move on to the next slide, because on the reading side, a lot of the students are asking me questions, so we've got quite a few questions here. So on the reading test, you've got 60 minutes and no transfer time. What does that mean exactly? Basically, you have to do a reading segment and it can't go over 60 minutes. You can't decide that, right, okay, I've only got 30 minutes. It has to be 60 minutes, so you're going to fail this element. Most people, like I mentioned to you in the last episode, if you watched it, most people tend to fail or lose marks on the reading and the listening. So we will talk about listening a little bit later, but let's work on reading. So you've got 40 items. There's 3 sections with a total of text length of 2,150 to 2,750 words. Now, you have to be able to demonstrate that you've read the paragraphs. And how are they going to do that? How are they going to test that you've read it? Well, they're going to give you a series of questions, which includes multiple choice. You also have to do what's called identifying information. So you have to be able to say true or false. And you're going to be able to identify the writer's claims. But again, by answering yes, no, or matching the information headings. You've got sentences and filling in the blanks where the sentences end or start. तो आपको एक मौका दिया जाएगा जहाँ पे आप सवाल के जवाब देंगे और आपको बिल्कुल दुरुस्त जवाब देने हैं. यहाँ पे आपको सवाल इस किस्म के किए जाएंगे कि आप तो उनको पता चले कि आपको सही तरह से समझ आया है. So again, I'm going to say this in English because you're going to get tested in English. You have to make sure that you have the ability to read and understand. The key word here is understand. You have to be able to prove or demonstrate that you understand the reading, the academic reading side of English. Now, most people especially from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, they have a very, very good level or an average, above average level of English speaking. But when it comes to reading, because of the way that the educational system works, unless they've been to an English medium school where English is going to be the first language, they end up stumbling upon and struggling at this stage. What I will answer is I've had 3 questions already. Is there any way around this? There is no way around this. You have to be able to demonstrate that your reading skills are above board, and you will have to comply with the 60-minute rule because there is no transfer. तो आपको आप इस वक्त अगर सामान फरमाना है तो देखें कि आपको इस सेगमेंट के अंदर यानी कि ये जो रीडिंग टेस्ट है इसके पीछे आपको मेहनत की ज़रूरत होगी. So you're going to have to spend a lot of time reading a lot of great novels, a lot of books, and find a study partner who you can practice with. So for example, at the moment we're giving you this facility. We're allowing you an opportunity to engage with us live here on Facebook and YouTube, and hopefully in the forthcoming programs we'll be able to do a live interaction as well, where you can ring in and call in and interact with us. So we will be giving you an opportunity where, say, after Ramadan, because in a couple of weeks' time it's going to be Ramadan. After Ramadan, we will be having live interactive shows. Now, what we will be looking at doing is giving another opportunity where you can join us through Skype. So please do keep watching these programs, and make sure that if you've not already hit the like button, hit the like button. We're going to take a short break, and we will continue with the IELTS training after this short break. Welcome back to English Learning Skills with SALEH. Just before we went on our break, I had quite a lot of students and other viewers commenting, and I know that I'm looking a little bit nervous today, so I do apologize, but as mentioned, that when you have to do these things live, just to reiterate that especially for students as well, that when you have to do certain things live or face to face, the nerves do kick in, and it is quite natural as human beings to be a little bit nervous. So we'll just continue with our reading element. So one of the things that you're going to have to get used to, students, is being able to discuss what you've read. So a lot of the students, or a lot of people who've studied in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Sri Lanka, if you've been to an English medium school, then you won't have a problem with this, because English has been your first language and you're used to reading, writing, listening, and speaking in English. But most people who are using English as a secondary language, they will struggle a little bit, and this is where you will really be tested. One of the things that I will mention is that you're going to have to show sentence completion. Now, what tends to happen is a lot of students are unable to structure the answers, so they end up not making it quite clear, so you lose marks. Because don't forget the aim, and we will talk about the different band scores, but I will mention briefly that the aim is to get above a 5.5. If you're going to get below 5.5, there's no real chance of you coming to the United Kingdom. You're just not going to be able to, you're going to fail on the assessment. So let's just let's just go over to the next slide, which is our listening slide. Now, what this segment is in 4 sections. You've got section 1, which is conversation between 2 people set in everyday social context. So basically, it's just going to be you and the examiner having a general chit chat. So it's going to be a 2-way conversation. He's going to ask you certain questions and you're going to give answers, and then he'll say to you, and you're going to have a 2-way conversation basically. जैसे कि हम उसे कहते हैं गुफ्तगू कि दो बंदे के बीच गुफ्तगू होगी, तो आप दोनों को एक दूसरे के साथ गुफ्तगू करनी है. फिर section 2 is monologue set in everyday social context. What does that mean? इसका क्या माना है कि monologue? इसका माना ये है कि आपको किसी टॉपिक या किसी चीज़ के बारे में मुख्तसर सी ब्रीफ डिस्क्रिप्शन देनी है. जैसे कि हम मुख्तसर कहते हैं उर्दू हिंदी में, और कि ब्रीफ, यानी कि ब्रीफ डिस्क्रिप्शन on everyday social context. उसके बाद section 3 होगा conversation between up to 4 people set in an educational or training context. इसका क्या माना है? देखो, आप होंगे, एग्जामिनर होगा और फिर कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन होगी. आप दोनों और कंप्यूटर के बीच उनके दरमियान सवाल जवाब होंगे. So you're going to have to be able to speak to the examiner on what you've just heard. So usually what tends to happen is they will make you listen to a little bit of a speech or a little bit of an audio clip, and you have to then discuss that audio clip with the examiner. And then the section 4 is monologue on an academic subject. Now, this is the most important part of this listening test, especially if you're coming to study in the UK. You are going to have to prove here that you are able to listen to an audio clip at an academic level. So they are going to be using a very big words or very complex terminology, and you're going to have to prove that you've understood that terminology and you're able to define and give a definition of what you've listened to. So यहाँ पे आपके जो पढ़ाई की हुई है इसका टेस्ट जो है वो होगा. So you're going to be tested on how well your academic knowledge is. We'll move on to our last slide, in the segment, which is a writing test. And in the writing test segment, this is not usually not a difficult part of the entire examination process. It's 60 minutes, so you've got plenty of time. You are required to do 2 tasks. The first task is the candidates are required to write at least 150 words, so in task 1, and then at least 250 words in task 2. Now, the task 1, you get to choose the topic. The task 2, they will give you a topic. So again, we will talk about what kind of topics you're going to have to choose from. Briefly, what I will explain to you is that try and choose a subject that you're very familiar with. For myself, it's music. Or music related. So I can talk about naats, nasheeds, commercial music, top of the pops, you name it. I can have a really good conversation about because I listen to a whole spectrum of different type of music. So I can use my 150 words just to explain that. Look, I listen from religious music to non-religious music. I have a huge interest in different musical styles. I love classical music. I love hardcore music. I love dance music. And I also love the religious side of the music as well. I'm a great big fan of naats, nasheeds. So that'll be a very easy topic. Another topic you can use is reading. You can say that I'm really interested, because a lot of the students, especially in the home countries, are very passionate about studies. The way that their parents have brought them up, the way that their upbringing has been that they've been given a focus and dedication to study. So you can talk about that. You can use that as a topic. In task 2, in which they will give you, there will be over 100 of topics that they might give you. They might say to you, talk about X, Y, but always remember, students, they will have your biodata. So they will know that, right, okay, this person is going to study about computer engineering. So they will give you a topic related to computer engineering, because for them, they want to test that, do you actually have an understanding of the subject that you say that you have studied, or that you say you are looking to go and study in the UK. So कोशिश यही कीजिए कि आप जो आपकी जानकारी अच्छी और आपकी मालूमात अच्छी हो, और आपको जो तालीम चाहिए, जो रिवीजन की ज़रूरत होती है, प्लीज़ engage with us. You can, like I said, from in the future, you'll be able to do live engagement with us on this show. Thanks to our executive producer, Mr. Naseem Khan. He will give us a facility, especially after Ramadan, where we can do live calls, and we will speak to you live. And we will try and introduce Skype as well, where we can have a Skype conversation so we can see each other. But in the meantime, please keep your questions coming in, because I know that quite a few of you have been asking questions. We will move on to our final slide, which is the band score. And I'll explain to you how the band scores work. Now, people who have already given their examination will already know that how difficult it is to get even an average. So let's say a 5. It is very, very difficult. Now, I've been brought up in the UK. I've been born in the United Kingdom. And for me, to get a band score of 9, I would have to be at a very, very, very high academic level. And even then, I would struggle. So to people who achieve band 9, which is an expert user, it's exactly as it says. They are very, very, very experts at giving tests, because it is very, very extremely difficult. Just to confirm, I gave the test. I do practice tests nearly every couple of weeks' time, and I've managed to get 7.9. Once I've had 8.2, 8.3 band score, and that's only because I pretty much revised and I knew the answers to a lot of the stuff. So it is very, very difficult. What on an academic level you are expected to get above 5.5. If you get 5.5, you'll have to do you'll have to do a foundation level. So say for example you're coming to study to do a bachelor's, Bachelor of Arts, or a BSc or anything equivalent, you will have to get a band score of 6. If you get below 6, which is a 5.5, you'll have to do a foundation entry year. If you're looking to do masters, you're going to have to get a band score of 6.5 or above. Now, anybody that's looking to come and do anything in the medical field, I have mentioned this on the previous program. So if you have been watching our programs, you will notice that I mentioned this before. In anything in the medical field, so even nurses, you're going to have to get a band score of over 8. Now, we did put an appeal against this decision, that how can you expect nurses to have the same band score as higher professionals in the medical field? But it's just the way the Home Office have set, along with British Council, they've set the band scores. But our advice to students, just now questions popped up that, what about if you get below 5.5? The answer to that is, if you get below 5.5, you're going to have to resit the test. I know it's expensive and it's time consuming, but if you're going to get a band score below 5.5, there is no opportunity. Some people are saying that, what about pathway? So let me just explain what pathway is to people who don't understand. Pathway is basically an entry route for certain countries, so students from certain countries, to gain entry into university. Pathway providers will charge an additional fee, but you still have to have a band score of 5. So as mentioned, if you get 5.5, you're going to have to do a foundation year. If you get a band score of 5, then you have to approach. There are about 4 or 5 different choices available. They're known as pathway providers. What they will do is they'll give you the education and the knowledge and to gain entry into university. So you'll have to do an additional year. Now, most people will get a 4-year visa. Now, how the 4-year visa works is the first 2 years is dedicated to studying, and you've got a 2-year what known as post-study work visa. So you've got first 2 years where you have to do studying, and the second 2 years you're allowed to work wherever you want to work, and you've got a legal green card basically. So that completes your 4-year visa. Most people who have got a band score of 5.5 or 6 tend to study the first year, do a placement the second year, and then the third year and the fourth year they go into employment, because they've got a legal opportunity to work legally for an employer in the UK. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not allowed to work while you're studying. The British government and the Home Office have give you a 20-hour part-time contract, so you will get a national insurance number from the moment you arrive in the UK. So you're able to work part-time during your studies. Now, this can become full-time during term time holidays. Like, for example, in the UK, we're observing Easter. Now, during the Easter break, you're able to work full-time hours. But whilst you're studying, so whilst you're at university or doing any other higher education or further education, you will have to do part-time studies, so part-time employment and studies. Now, most people are asking that when it's full-time studies, the question is, so during full-time studies, what are the lecture times and stuff? Your lectures are usually running between 2 and 2.5 days, so they're usually 4 or 5 hours day 1, 4 or 5 hours day 2, and maybe a couple of hours, 1 hour, 2 hour day 3. In university, you're not expected to go in between 9 and 3 o'clock like you are during school or college. So I've answered that question, but let's continue with the band scores. We just quite swiftly sidelined there. The band score we were looking at is that you need to try and achieve is a band score of minimum 5.5. Now, to get 5.5, you're going to have to do a lot of revision, a lot of understanding is required. And you are most of my students who are watching the program, they know that they can approach me, and I've been giving them lots of tips and hints and stuff. But please feel free. We will be providing you with an opportunity in the future, so in the next forthcoming programs, to participate and take part during live programs, especially on our YouTube channel, and this brings us to the end of this show. So thank you very much for joining us. I know it's been a brief show, but we wanted to make sure that we explain to you step by step. And what we'll be looking at doing is, in each episode, we're going to look at each segment that we've talked about today. So in next week's program, we will be looking at speaking. And then the week after we'll be looking at reading, and then the week after listening, and then the last one we'll do is writing, and then after that we'll be doing some practice. So what we'll be doing is introducing and giving you an opportunity to either call in or participate in the program, and we'll have like your questions answered basically. So you have any questions, we'll be able to look at each of the questions individually. I know I've not been able to go through a lot of the questions, but they're very, very similar. So thank you very much for joining us this week, and on behalf of our executive producer Naseem Khan and the team here at UCTV, I thank you all for joining us, and thank you very much for the great opportunity. And if you have any questions or you have any feedback, that just contact us. So thank you very much for joining in, and until next time, we'll see you again.